it's a joy to have made, and there are no accidents here, right?
I know. It's amazing. How
I
did I
know.
find you?
I don't know. You had to find me because I had your book.
There you go. And I'm a
We-
book person, so thank you. Like I said, I'm going to have my John Drew section in my bookcase from now
Yeah.
on.
Well, it's been an interesting journey for me because I didn't start this until, May 2018. So I'm pretty much a late joiner. Um,
What triggered you? What?
so what it was that if I go back to August 2016, my father-in-law, as was, passed away.
Mm,
Okay. My daughter, well, we were all, I mean, he was one of the nicest people that I have ever come across in my entire life. I got on with him so well, loved him to bits. And my daughter, she was devastated because, like he'd been her playmate, her, mentor, her everything, and, never failed to send her a message every single day. Even though we'd moved like 5,000, because by then we were living in Los Angeles, right? And so she was going to school over there. They were back here in the UK, but every day he would send her a message, and it would always just be a really loving, beautiful message. He
mm,
had a great sense of humor.
mm.
He still has, by the way. But but anyway, so she decided because she kept on seeing these signs, the lucid dreams and various other things he would come to her, and seeing all these signs that he was still around her and providing comfort and everything. So she decided to go and have a reading. And I was happy for her to have a reading. We'd never done anything like that before. I had no interest in it. And I just thought, well, I hope she doesn't get too disappointed because, it's probably not real. Right. So that was kind of the way I looked at it. But, I encouraged her to say, look, if you want to do it, do it. And it wasn't that I was that cynical or skeptical. I just, never really stopped to think about it too much.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, back in, I think it was February 2018, she went and had this reading. And what was really interesting about it was that she had a really good reading. Her grandfather was there. My ex-wife's cousin turned up as well, Maureen, who's, she's a beautiful spirit. She died when she was 50. They were both there. But then my mom, who died back in 1981, came through. And, you know, she was there with Stephanie. And like, again, what I learned there was that my mom was with Stephanie before she was even born, you know?
Wow.
So you
Wow.
kind of realize that this is just like crazy because they had so many messages for me through Stephanie's reading because at the time I was going through a bit of a dark night of my own soul, if you like, because
Mm,
I'd gone through this divorce. I was going to go through this legal battle to try and get some sanity into this situation.
mm.
And it was like, you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was one of those moments.
Yeah.
So I got all these messages of support. I even got a message from my ex-father-in-law, John, telling me not to feel guilty about divorcing his daughter because it was always supposed to be that way. It wasn't supposed to last. And at the same time, my mom was worried about the stress levels I was going through. So all this came through, and I thought, hang on a second, if this is not real, how can I get all these messages through my daughter's reading? So anyway, I realized then I had to have a reading of my own. So I booked one. Uh, my daughter researched the place to go. It was different from hers. And it was a 3-month waiting list. It was expensive. But I
Mm,
thought, well, the reviews that this lady called Susan Graw that she was receiving were just out, really, really off the scale. So that's where I went. And that was an hour that changed my life because they were all there waiting for me. And it was beautiful. And it was just like at the same time, me as a classic left brainer working in a finance industry, it was all numbers, facts, provables, this, that, and the other. So this was so far out of left field for me, it made no sense at all. But I knew it was real. I'd
that's
had,
wonderful.
yeah.
Wow.
And the thing is, because I'm a left brainer, I couldn't just leave it there. I now needed to understand how wrong I had been. So then it set me on this trail of 6.5 years so far of just looking under every stone to understand the nature of consciousness and the human experience. And what I've uncovered is amazing. And I love it. I love it. I love it. And then this journey then brought me, I came back to the UK back in 2020, just as COVID curtain was about to drop.
Mm.
And I knew by then, I effectively retired from finance, and I knew what I wanted to do was do something more on the spiritual side.
Mhm.
Part of it was like doing this, like I had conversations with a fellow who owns a store called Mystic Journey Bookstore based in Los Angeles, Jeff, and I was kind of going to open one over here. But of course, COVID curtain came along. You think, well, hang on a second, retail stores, this is not the thing to be doing. So I played around with it for a while and then finished up working with Jolie. Jolie was the last reading that I ever had before I came back from California,
Ah,
right? And that's where I met her, which
met
again,
her.
no accident.
Yeah.
So then, I met
Oh.
her over there, and then I was really desperate to stay in touch with her because I felt, I could, given her skill set as a clairvoyant theta healer, very connected. When we got Elevated Planet, and then it became like a three-way type of ownership between me, Jolie, and the creator, because that's where we always went for our advice. And we were told that this journey would really start to begin for us in the second half of 2024. Now, we set this up in 2022, I think, or 21 even. So I think it might have been 2021. So we've had but we were told just be consistent.
Mhm.
So up
Mhm.
until recent times, we were doing a 1 hour show, not really advertising it, not even
Mm.
using social media, and getting maybe 15, 20 people viewing the thing in it over a space of a week, which was kind of like a little bit dispiriting in a way because you're not getting a message out at all. Now, fast forward, we had somebody who came to us the other day, and it just felt like as soon as I saw his name appear, I thought, this is for us, right? So this fella, he's a specialist on the social media side and the YouTube side, because he said, "Oh, do you realize your channel, in terms of visibility rates, is 0 out of 100? You know, I,
Oh.
I can zero, not even 0.1."
You need some help.
Yeah. So, and it just kind of felt like, because we're not generating any income from this, it's all cost. So we had to be careful with that. But, his prices were very, very good, and he's been brilliant. So the show that went out last Sunday is probably about 5,000 views now, which, right? So now we've gone from, if we ever, in recent times, this half of the year, we got into the hundreds of views, like sometimes
Oh.
200 views, and that felt fantastic to us. Now we bring in our friend from over in Asia, and now we got 5,000 in 1 week alone, right? Just
Oh, that's
like literally
wonderful.
from 5 days ago, even
That's
less.
wonderful.
So you start to realize now, but we were always told this half of the year is when we would start to step into the power of what we are doing and just stay
Mhm.
consistent, stay the
Mhm.
course, build it,
Mhm.
and they will come.
Build
So
it and they will come. And
that,
John, there's something I wanted to say too, because I know I've heard you refer to yourself as a left brainer. And I think one of the last ones I was watching, because you're on my YouTube feed now, so I turn on my television instead of watching our poor, pathetic politics here in the States. I watch things like you folks and feel good instead of like, oh, I just want to go bury myself somewhere. Um, I personally, first of all, we want to be whole brained.
Mm,
And as a as a as a right brainer, a lot of what I have valued is learn again the discernment
yes.
is in the left brain. Because when I was working in Santa Cruz back in the 70s and early 80s,
Mm,
actually really through the to the early 90s, um, there was a lot of stuff that was not okay. And I saw people with an inability to kind of stop and reflect and either notice their body or just think through a little bit. And that really made me realize how important it is, first of all, to be able to activate the left brain as we kind of evaluate and as the two brains dance together. And also, when the left brain people start waking up to this
mm,
and joining with the reflective right brain people, that's when it starts exploding. I mean, when you see a scientist like Greg Braden
Sure.
light up,
Yes.
it's like you can speak to people that somebody who doesn't have that left brain capacity can't speak to, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah.
it's I have lots of left brain people in my life and I just love it because they're very good at like, okay, stop, ground, let's think this through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it is, and I have no regrets over like the left brain side of things. And I know that I've been bridging the gap better and better because obviously I've been researching it and
Yeah,
understanding it.
yeah,
And that understanding allows me to bridge it. Now, and this is the nature of consciousness now as it is shifting, as I understand it, is that we're moving from the duality of the mind into the unity of the heart consciousness,
yes,
that Christ consciousness, that
right,
heart-based unity consciousness is what we're heading to. And
yes,
when you're kind of doing, your consciousness comes from the heart. You can't be stuck in duality.
right. That's right. That's right.
So that's what's exciting about this now. It's just that the left brainers have slightly further to travel because the right brain is connected to the heart. So you got to go left, then right, then throw a downhill, and then you
It's
can connect.
I'm a Irish, so I'm a storyteller. So I'm going to share a story with you, which you may or may not put out, but it's from the Cherokee tradition, and I love it because of the tenderness towards the mind. So they tell the story that what happened to the white race was that the heart was sitting on her throne, and the mind, the left brain, was standing in his position behind her left shoulder as her counselor, her consultant. And they had this really deeply respectful and loving relationship. And something happened, they don't speculate what that is, where the heart began to realize there was some distress among her people. So she wanted to leave her throne and go out among the people to discover what was happening. And she asked the mind to sit on the throne and hold that space
Mm,
until she was back. And they say initially the mind argued, no, my queen, I can't do this. I'm not the heart. I don't have the skills. Don't ask me to do it. But she asked him, and because he loved her, she said yes. He said yes. So he sits on the throne, and she's been out among the people. And he's sort of forgotten that the throne really isn't his seat. So the prayer that some of these folks are doing, the prayer is to call the heart back home into the throne room. And as she comes in, this poor mind that has been trying to do what it has no capacity to do, and it has been working itself to the bone trying to do it. She comes in, he recognizes her, jumps from the chair, bows to her. She sits on the throne, and he's back here. Isn't that a beautiful story? Because there's no judgment on the mind. The,
yes, yes, that is fantastic. And I my understanding is that this last 13,000 year cycle is the one that has been effectively where we've been cut off from the unity of the heart. And it's kind of like being stuck in this duality type
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
And we've been stuck in it for so long that it's so ingrained we didn't even realize there's an alternative.
that's it. That's it. Yeah,
So this is a time to get excited about it because we can make the dimensional shift back up. And Drumvalo Melchizedek as well, he does a lot of work. He has this course which is all about living in the heart, kind of reconnecting with the heart energy.
beautiful, beautiful.
And in fact, I did the course only a few weeks ago, and
Oh, that was one you were talking about.
right. And
Oh,
well,
yeah.
well, actually, in recent times, I've been talking more about something that actually spawned off that, which was the Zen cleanse. It was called.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
okay.
just that was a cleanse, but it's actually been created by these Buddhist monks, and it's like the same thing with the consciousness of water. If you infuse
Mm,
water,
mm,
with love energy, with
mm,
all this, and then
mm,
these beautiful crystals, and
mhm,
you can remove pollutants and things.
mhm.
the same way that they meditate around these things for 3 years to infuse them with sort of like this high frequency energy,
Mm,
which you then take this, it's like a 7 day cleanse. And, it's quite an experience. It's not always easy, but it's quite an experience. So the lady that ran Drumvalo's course was the one who I found out about the Zen cleanse thing from. So
ah,
there was a link to that. It all links back to Drumvalo, really. But
okay.
so this lady called Viola Rose, which I'll have her on the program again at some time soon, just to sort of like go through this but it's not cheap. I mean, this is to do this 7 day cleanse is about, just to get the stuff alone, it's getting close to $600, just to buy that. But once you understand what it is you're getting, you're not just feeding a big corporate,
Right,
bottom line. You're
right,
talking about something that has been really well thought through, something that is absolutely beautifully presented in a way that, you come out of it after 7 days and you are cleansed. You are, it's kind of like you feel better, your energy levels are higher, and you got rid of all the toxins that our modern Western diets, put in for decades on end.
right,
So
right.
it's a fantastic thing to do. But the course which I took with a workshop, which is Drumvalo's workshop, is all about getting into the unity of the heart. And it's actually like creating your own Merkaba light vehicle,
Mhm.
but doing it from the heart. And he also talks a lot about the fact that for manifesting, you have to manifest from the heart, not from the mind, because if you manifest from the mind, you get duality. So
That's it.
you may get what you want, but you're also going to get what you don't want, because you're going to get the shadow as well as the actual thing that you're seeking.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Hmm.
it's fascinating. But yeah, the discernment thing you were talking about earlier, I think a very important message for our community. It's we certainly do, because one of the things is that I know that a lot of people who see our work are not yet even on the path, right? So I can easily come back in time and say, okay, well, it was 6 years ago when I was living in that left brain existence, working in the finance industry. I can understand why people would see this as deluded nonsense.
Exactly.
So,
And that's part of what's so wonderful about what you do is that awareness. And you're not trying to shove something down people's throats. You're just saying, here's something for your consideration.
yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I think that's the important point. I think you have to respect where everybody is on the journey. And it could be that some people's journey is never going to actually start to move in that direction, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's no right and there's no wrong. But if we can be there to maybe spark people's curiosity, spiritual curiosity, so they begin their own journey.
Yeah.
That is all you can ask. And if we can provide them tools, it's a beautiful.
And it's a beautiful thing. And, it's like I was mentioning to you in my email about past life regression, that if I was working with somebody, and I work with everything, I say from priests to pagans, because
Mm,
I'm just interested in, I love all the different ways that holy mystery shows up,
yes.
whether it's in a religion or not or whatever. But there were times when, say, for example, somebody came in with a particular symptom, and we would go into an altered state to explore what had initiated this symptom. And sometimes it was, they'd eaten something or they were allergic to something, or maybe when they were a child, they had a surgery and this was a trauma trying to release from the body. But several times people went into a past life. And I'm sitting with somebody who doesn't believe in past lives. So I could say, it doesn't make any difference. This might be a past life. This might be someone on the planet somewhere that you have a relationship with. This could be an archetypal process. It could be a meaningful dream. But if I could support the person in an altered state accessing meaning, then even if the move was my gosh, my unconscious has a capacity for a meaningful dream that is healing. That's a big step on the journey.
Yes.
And then if they ever get to past lives, that's not my business. That's between them and mystery. But it can open people just that little bit that can be so it expands consciousness right
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. And you know, I'm a big fan of Dolores Cannon's work. Probably hadn't read any of her books, didn't really know anything about until maybe 3 years ago. But once I got to understand the nature of the quantum healing hypnosis technique, and you heard all the things that would come through, you know, okay, you start off with past lives, and that's just the beginning, right? Because then you start to go through into past incarnations, which are nothing to do with the physical entity at all. It's something completely different, as some form of source of energy that might have been on this planet or an alternative planet.
Or another one. Yeah.
Yeah, alternative galaxies, alternative universe.
Mhm.
And you start to realize that everything is so expansive. And, you know, the fact is, we're just immortal spirits having a human experience. So here we are, we have the vessel, we're occupying the vessel. It's one of the three-part being is the vessel, right? So it's mind, body, spirit. But the fact is that we're not the body, because when it comes to the time that we, you know, that we die from the physical, the spirit then goes back to this beautiful place. You know, it's going to be amazing. And we do say, you know, the most beautiful experience you will have in your life is the moment you die.
Mm,
We do
mm.
offer that with a money back guarantee from Elevated Planet. And nobody's come back and claimed against it yet.
You know, I wrote a poem one time to my body that was about when it's time for me to lean into that door of light. I want to stop and thank you, my precious companion, because this body has accompanied me as teacher and trickster and everything you could imagine. And she's been such a good friend, and we've been through a lot together. And when it's time to say goodbye, I want to be able to say, thank you so much for being with me during this part of my journey. And now I release you back into this precious earth from which you came, you know?
Beautiful. That is
And
beautiful. I think that is really it's quite moving, you know. And I got to say, personally, as part of my daily practice, in fact, one of my most fun times is when I wake up. It's like maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. I know I should be going back to sleep again, and I just like laying there feeling so grateful for everything I have in my life, and also saying thank you and sending sunshine chemicals of love and gratitude to my 50 trillion cells that make up this John Drew entity,
it's
for
wonderful.
taking us through the decades ahead that we've got. Is going to be so exciting. So you know, it's kind of making that connection. But at that time, obviously, when the veil is a little bit thinner as well, you feel that sense of connection. And I
Yes.
just like, because my partner Emma, she'll sometimes she'll look at me, and I'm just laying there with this big stupid grin on my face at 3 in the morning.
To wake up with gratitude, what a blessing is that?
I know. I'm just so grateful to be here, because it is an honor to be here on the planet right now. And what I love, you know, these things that happen, like us meeting, okay? I love the fact that there's no coincidences.
Mhm.
This was always supposed to happen. And I've had a series of these things happen in life, and it shows you that the path is the right path, because this was my time to meet you,
Yeah.
and for you to meet us,
Yes.
be able to share your wisdom with a wider audience, because you will help people. You know, that's what you've been doing, all right?
Mhm.
You know, you've been doing it through your physical job
Mhm.
in real life, but also, you know, if we can get a wider audience to understand the nature of consciousness and the human experience through what you have learned in your decades working within this spiritual environment, I mean, that is a true blessing.
Mm, mm. Well, it's been extraordinary for me, you know, because my prayer since I was a child had been, "Make me your instrument. Make
Mm,
me your instrument." And so to have this invitation to sit with you and maybe share some stories that other people could receive in a way that would be beneficial for them.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible gift. So thank you. And I mean, I literally just began experiencing probably about 6 or 7 months ago, because I do I do like a centering prayer meditation and then some kind of piece of shamanic work every morning. And this new guide, a golden eagle, started coming in. And usually I work with bear and whale and a couple of mountain lion. But this golden eagle was coming in, and I'd never seen her before. And her eyes were big, but there was like this opaque film over them. And so as I'm working with her and asking, what is this about? You mentioned it earlier in our conversation. It was about being invited now to more consciously raise my vibration to that love vibration where the eagle is, who can see far and wide, can see the little rabbit down there, but really has that more Aquarian perspective.
Mm.
But when I said to her, what is the film? She said, you have to stop watching politics, you have to cut back on television, um, and it's time to re-enter the world of metaphysics that has always been there, but I haven't been actively studying it. So it's like, okay, fine. And then I open my computer, and out of the blue on my YouTube feed, and I'm thinking, and the word that's coming to me as I'm with Eagle is elevate to love consciousness. And then I open up my computer and there's Elevated Planet on my YouTube feed, which I had never seen before. So as you said, there's like, and I thought, who are these people? And then I opened it up and you were delightful. And Jolie, who, as I said, I've been doing trance work for, oh good Lord, almost 50 years now. And I'm listening to her going, she's solid. And
Mm.
I thought, thank you, Great Spirit. Here we are.
Yeah. It is amazing, isn't it? I love it. I love it. I love it. It's just everything gets lined up for us. And, I think this is one of the things I had to learn as a left brainer. It's not about efforting, right? It's about allowing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge transition right there.
Mm. And I still, I have to kind of stop myself from trying to keep doing and doing and doing, right?
Right,
And just kind of go with the flow, keep connected, keep asking, keep, knowing, picture what it is, work with that and just feel the joy
right,
of
right,
having it already happened. And,
right.
just go with it. And I know that where this leads is really special. I know we help a lot of people on the planet.
Yes. Well, like I said, you really helped me, and now you're sending me I've got this beautiful book to read
Well,
with this wonderful fragrance that you don't know what it is, but it's I got this thing in the post office, and it's like, because I also do aromatherapy, subtle aromatherapy, and I'm like, and a lot of incenses I actually don't care for because they have some
yeah, yeah,
artificial
yeah,
stuff in
yeah.
it, and I get a little bit of a headache. But I thought, this is delightful. And then, of course, you tell me it's this potpourri of
Yeah,
everything you've been
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
But it not only looks good and feels good, it smells good. So,
How perfect is that? And I mean, I love the energy and the interaction that we have here as well. This just
lovely.
feels like this could be the new Netflix series coming up, right? Yeah.
Laughing heads instead of talking heads.
But it's a beautiful thing. It's just, whether it's again the Anne Walker and White Arrow as the as the book that you've now got, the way that came to me was just so bizarre, right? It's just, but once you look back on these things, that this is supposed to happen. I was supposed to get that. That was going to lead to this, to that, to that, and then it leads to you. Where does it lead beyond? I don't know. I'm excited about it.